Hello once again, and welcome to JCTV Spotlight on the Arts. Today I'm very happy to introduce you to a young artist by the name of Brianna Duey. Welcome to JCTV once again, Spotlight on the Arts. It's summertime in the state of Missouri, here at the capital city of Jefferson City, Missouri. I'm your host, Rick Jey, with a very special guest today. I've been looking forward to visiting and chatting with at the round table. That's Miss Brianna Duey of Buckland, Missouri. Please join me in welcoming, if you will, Miss Duey to Spotlight on the Arts. It's great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Brianna. If I may call you by your first name, Bree, can you tell us a little bit about those highlights of your life up to date that best describes Bree Duey?
I was born and raised in Marceline, Missouri. So I grew up in a small country town here in Missouri. I went to college. I studied art and design at Columbia College in Chicago. Graduated with a bachelor's degree in 2014. Then my husband and I traveled around the country for 3 years, living in a camper, doing work camping, so at different campsites. And I came home and settled back in Buckland. We bought 12 acres, trying to build a house and homesteading.
Homesteading. Now, where's Buckland, may I ask?
It's north central. It's in between Chillicothe and Macon.
Oh,
near
yes,
Macon.
Okay. Definitely know Chillicothe. Have family there at one time. And so you're newly wed, I guess. Of
3 years.
3 years. Would like to say a special hello to anyone of the family, whatever. Shout outs are permissible, I guess. You could say. Well, Bree, I'm really impressed with your art and referred your name. A lady out of the Columbia Arts League, and so I'm really happy to have you here today.
Yeah.
Can you share with us, basically, and the viewers, what inspired you to become an artist, and what inspires you to continue your adventure, shall we say, in producing such awesome artwork, which we'll be sharing with the viewers along the timeline?
Well, as I grew up, my mom was very creative, so we always had the arts in the household. She was a painter as well. She wanted to pursue it, but she had kids to take care of, so she went to nursing school instead. So she was very encouraging when I started out. She encouraged me to pursue it. As far as continuing, I think most artists don't feel like they have a choice. I just have to paint, so I just pursue it full time. And
I see. So you was basically inspired by the wishes and desires of mother.
Yeah.
But then you started your own path.
I did.
And then tried to choose major decisions along the way to study art and try it out, I guess, on your own. Super. Would you have any inspiring words for a young person or older person for that matter, who wishes to begin an artistic challenge in life at any point?
Just go for it. That's my greatest advice is, it's really scary and it takes a lot of time, a lot of practice. My other advice is to not surround yourself with people that tell you that your work's great, because then you don't get any better. You have to be very critical to constantly be striving to make your work better.
Right, and not everyone's going to love your or like your art.
Yes, you have to stay on your own path.
Yes, I understand it. My grandfather used to say, well, Rick, you have a young man that can reach in either pocket. One path that leads one way, and the other part, the path leads another way. So you have to follow your own. And if you have a few bumps along the way, then or have to make choices, then you strive to go for the other pathway. So
yeah.
So I can understand that. Well, could you share with us a little bit about Columbia College, if you could?
It's right downtown. It's right near the Art Institute. They had a pretty open program, I would say. It wasn't really strict. You were pretty much free to pursue whatever you wanted to, so you brought your projects to the teacher and then explained what you would like to pursue, and they just helped guide you. It's taught only by working artists, which was helpful. I mean, they all work within the field. They're not just teachers, so they could guide you to galleries. And
so that's a key factor now
Yes.
at Columbia College, that they are working artists, so
Yeah.
they can guide you and at least give you choices and some input, I guess. Now, where's your Columbia College for those viewers?
It's in Chicago. It's right downtown.
In Chicago, I think you did mention that. Sometimes we associate it, I think, with Columbia College in Columbia, Missouri.
Yes, I've had that.
Yes,
A lot of people think that they're affiliated.
We
but they're
want to
not.
make sure that you understand that there is a big difference, I believe,
Yeah.
campus-wise, I believe, if I did my research. Well, what is your favorite medium used in the completion of a project?
I started out at college using only acrylic paints, and then, as I said, we moved around the country. So we lived in Arizona, and the acrylics dried much too fast. So I then changed to oils. So now I work only in oils.
That is a fact, that they do dry too fast
Too
in
fast in the
Arizona.
desert,
Living there
yes.
about 30 years myself,
Yeah.
I can understand. Did you receive any schooling at University of Arizona State, or CAC is a good college, has a good program, art program. So
I
did you-
enjoyed the art culture in Arizona, but I did not attend any
Right.
schooling there.
Excellent. What was your main subject matter in Arizona, or when you began? Kind of give us a little bit of a timeline. Beginning, what was you concentrating on, and then along the path, and maybe up until today, what have you leaned towards? Or where'd you start out?
I've always been drawn toward, starting out, I really wanted to focus on just honing skills. So I started out
Yes.
doing mainly still lifes. I really love portraiture, so I did a lot of portraits. And you still see that reflected in my work
Yes.
today. Chicago was I took a class called Magical Realism, and it was a literary class, and that really inspired me. So that's where my work has shifted. I do surreal work that incorporates magical elements.
Okay, well, we're on that. I do know that you present your artwork under magical. Now, explain your magical feeling or description of magical, because magic happens with all artists, I believe, in a sense, because it's more or less a passion,
It is.
and it becomes magic. And sometimes we do a painting and we surprise ourselves, like, did I do that? So
Yeah.
in my feelings, that becomes magic to me when did I do that? So how would you describe the feeling of magic or magical realism?
My work is illustrative, and in order to get to my imagery, I often research folklore surrounding plants, so the magical properties of plants, or how different cultures or communities have seen magic in plants and nature and animals. So then I incorporate that into my work.
Now that's interesting again, because to take to my mind different places as far as the plants, the jungles of Africa, Guatemala, locally, all the plant life that we have locally that we try to grow and bring to a blossom or a bloom. How would you describe or break that down?
I usually start with a plant. Like, I'll research folklore, and then when I read the descriptions, imagery will usually strike me and come to me. So
Yes.
then I will start drawing, and it usually always starts with one plant in particular, or an animal, either or.
Oh, I see.
And then I just base the whole painting from there.
So some people are triggered by different things. Yours is triggered by plants or animals. So that then, if I'm going to do a project, something triggers that. And once I have it in my mind, then I'm ready to lay it on canvas.
Absolutely.
Now, I noticed some of your paintings. I love the bigger plants that Do you have a favorite plant? I guess I should ask you.
I do. The bat flower.
The bat flower? Oh, my. Oh, well, it shows in your paintings, I believe. One painting specifically we'll have to have the viewers look for. So the requiem on that, out of the college, was there choices there, and was it entitled magical realism, or is that your term?
The term usually only reflects writing, like books, literature, but I have since seen in the last couple years artists using it to describe their work alongside pop surrealism. I believe I fall within that category as well.
Oh, I see. Well, now out of your paintings, we all have favorites. Can you describe some of your favorites?
My favorite to date would either be swallows. So before the flooding this year in Missouri, I went down to Muscle Fork Bridge, just right overlooking a creek, and the swallows were just swarming because their nests were being flooded. And I photographed their nests, and I try to create what I would imagine to be symbiotic relationships between the plants and animals and humans.
Yes.
So I have a hand coming out of one of the nests as if to help the swallows that are flying around. And
well, that's another term I really love, is that symbiotic.
yes.
That I think, again, especially dealing with animals, we try, or even a great scene of inspiration of the sunset or sunrise. Not only is it symbiotic with nature, but if you believe in a higher being, what have you, it's the most inspirational with a creator, what have you, however you look at that, or have that feeling inside. So that's a great term, that symbiotic feeling. Well, Bree, we must take a place. After the break, we'll actually be seeing more. Brianna will share more and explain how she arrives at the subject of a project and step us through the processes in completing a project. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
The magical thing about using energy wisely is that anyone can do it. Turn off lights. Use energy-saving light bulbs. And turn off computers and game systems when not in use. Make a change and we can really fly. Grab a grown-up and go online to energy.gov/kids.
Welcome back to JCTV Spotlight on the Arts. I continue now with our special guest today, artist Brianna Duey. Bree, before the break, you shared a lot of informational content. Can you now share with us how you arrive at the subject matter you wish to create in a project? We somewhat covered that, but maybe suggestions, if you could, to our viewers, those artists looking to be somewhat inspired or be triggered by something. Do you have any, do you go into a trance, or you just?
It honestly feels like a very spiritual, I like how you said that, a spiritual process for me. It just happens when I'm there. It is kind of like you're in a trance. I usually start, like I said, with the information, research on a certain plant or animal, and then I'll sketch out the designs, and then the most crucial part is getting reference photos. So then I'll get reference photos of plants, female figures, and then I use Adobe Photoshop, and I'll piece them together to where I have one cohesive, it's very rough, but a cohesive image that I would like the painting to look like. And then I proceed from there. I use wood panels, so I'll transfer it to a wood panel. And
oh, you use not a canvas, but a wood panel?
Wood panels.
Ah, I see. So it has a texture of its own. Well, you know, you talked about the inspirational feeling. We had a guest recently that went to a presentation of one of the more famous artists with the missing part of his ear. And he actually felt his body overcome this painting that he is viewing by this gentleman. So I believe, again, all artists are inspired some way, somehow, something will just trigger that emotion, that feeling. So again, that's great to hear. So you've explained mainly your completion of a project, your process. Do you use any type of a final coating like?
I do. I use a varnish. I usually wait 3 months and then I'll varnish. I use golden MSA hard varnish, so it's a 2-part. You mix it together, the solvent and the hardener.
Oh, excellent.
And I use multiple coats, so it's a nice, thick, really glossy layer.
Right. Now, is that glossy enough to distract from the lighting that's penetrating through that?
I don't think so. I think varnishing is a really magical, really process for me because it brings all the colors that I see when the paints are wet.
Yes.
And then it brings them back to life, the color.
I think you've hit on another key element there. You know, when we're painting it with any type of oils or acrylics, what have you, you see what the painting is going to, hopefully, it's going to look like, all the values. And all of a sudden, when they dry and say, what's happened? So this, I always try to ask that, what type of a coating do you use for a clear coat? And sometimes you get it too glossy and they, I guess, reflect the light or rather than encompass it, what have you. Well, a lot of things are happening for Miss Bree. Can you tell us where you might we might be able to view your work at this present time?
I will be in a group show at Sager Browdis Gallery in Columbia, Missouri in September, the September show. I will also have a piece at the Full Moon show at La Bodega Gallery in San Diego, California for September.
Excellent.
And then I'll have a January show at NOMO in my hometown, Marceline, Missouri in January.
In Marceline. Now, you're also at the state capitol, State Fair.
I am.
Alongside, I was fortunate to be included, one of my pieces, and so I congratulate you being in the 30th year top 50 at the Missouri State Fair, the top 50 artists, and be actually attending a reception this evening. So that's quite an honor to be recognized.
Absolutely.
So
Congratulations to you as well.
Thank you. Well, would you like to share your website address, email, phone numbers, where someone might want to be look at a project for a commission basis?
Yeah,
Or
you can.
just to view your paintings, etc. That so if they can't get out and view them.
Yeah, for sure. You can find me on Facebook at Art by Bree Duey, on Instagram at breedewey.art, and my email is breedewey.art@gmail.com. So feel free to reach out.
Yes. Now you are reaching out, and we had an interesting 1-hour program interview with, if you recall, JCTV Spotlight on the Arts interviewed Gary Lucy out of Washington, Missouri, who speaks across our nation on how to market your art at a lot of the universities and colleges. And he had his own concept of marketing. Do you have, now you're into San Diego, you're in some of the major galleries in Missouri. So what's your concept, your idea of marketing your art? What has worked for you?
I try to follow galleries that I admire with work that I feel like fits well with mine, and then I usually just reach out, send them an email, submit photos, and a lot of times it works out.
So you just basically submit through their website?
Yeah,
They give you an email, you find out what the basis or what the qualifications are, and then you do that mail-in. Now, don't you have that inner feeling of fear that you might not be accepted, that rejection?
I think that's the first thing an artist gets over as a professional is, rejection comes and you just have to let it roll off you. So
I think that's a major point. You have to take some rejection. As an actor, I know sometimes you don't get all the parts. So same thing with art. You just can't always be accepted. At some point, I know I've tried to get in a couple shows for 9 years, and all of a sudden 9 years later it has come about. So that's, I guess the art speaks for itself, as I always like to say on the program. And naturally yours does for sure. So I was so interested in making sure we could visit here at the round table. Well, we're about to run out of time. So you have any closing words of inspiration or anything you'd like to pass on to our viewers at this point?
I just think everyone should paint, whether you're an artist or not. I feel like it is vastly benefits not only the community, but your mental health, and yeah, so just paint.
Yes. Many people find it relaxing and therapeutic.
Yes.
We've had gentlemen and ladies who have reached some major health issues or trauma within their lives, and they have turned to painting to more or less fill the void, I guess you could say.
Oh, absolutely.
Be inspired by not only other artists, but also what they have found that they can create also. So, well, that's great closing words. I guess I want to say thank you once again for contributing to Spotlight on the Arts. It has been really an inspiring visit with you, and all the information and experience that you've shared with me and our viewers. So thank you very much. On behalf of Spotlight on the Arts and JCTV, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And my thanks goes out to JCTV producer Gloria N. Lowe and crew, Mr. Art Gerhardt at the controls today, and thank you, our viewers, for joining us. Look for more Spotlight in the Arts right here at JCTV, and don't forget YouTube. I'm Rick Jey saying, see you next time.